Hello everybody, this is just a quick video to give some instructions about the Human Demography project because a number of people were out the day that I introduced the project, and I just want to make sure the instructions are clear. So I passed out three things when I gave the project. The first thing I passed out were these population growth problems. These are just practice problems using similar formulas to the ones we were using in class the other day: crude birth rate, crude death rate, and calculating the global population rate, growth rate. Incorporating immigration and emigration into that formula turns it into the national population growth rate, where birth rate and immigration add to the population, death rate and emigration remove from the population. Remember that crude birth, crude death, immigration, and emigration rate are all per 1,000 individuals. So you need to set up a proportion when you're calculating these values. And lastly, doubling time. And there are a couple practice problems here. The reason I start with these is because these equations are going to be pretty important for the project. Okay. This is the handout for the project. It's worth 33 points. And it has, the goal of the project is to look at demography of 10 different countries around the world. 8 countries from the 5 main continents: North America, South America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. Obviously, there's 5 continents. You need 8 countries, so you can double dip. You can have 2 from North America, or 2 from Europe, or 3 from Europe, whatever. And then you need 2 island nations as well, 1 from the Caribbean and 1 from Oceania. Which is like Indonesia, north of Australia. And then you're going to gather some data from a data sheet, which I posted on Classroom, to calculate the nation's doubling time. So that's where you're going to start. So you need to build a data table, calculate the doubling time for each nation, and then you're going to work on making a scatter plot for your 10 nations, looking at the relationship between total fertility rate and doubling time. So let's take a look at this data sheet so you can see what I mean. It's the World Population Data Sheet 2021, and at the beginning gives some stats about the world: 7.8 billion people, and global fertility rates 2.3. Gives some cool facts here. Mothers aged 15 to 19 account for 15% of all births in Africa, 12% in the Americas, etc. 40% of people who live in Eastern, Middle, and Western Africa are under age 15. So some interesting stats there. Some focus on global fertility here. And then this is where we get into the statistics about each country. This is the world, but if we keep scrolling, it gives us each country in a region. So Northern Africa, we're looking at Algeria, Egypt, Libya, etc. If we keep scrolling, we get Western Africa, Eastern Africa, Middle Africa, Southern Africa, and then it moves on to North America, Central America, Caribbean, South America, etc. So it goes through all the continents. And if we take a look at the data that it provides for each country, it gives us the population, the births per 1,000, which is the crude birth rate, and the deaths per 1,000, which is the crude death rate, and the net migration rate, which is just the sum of the immigration and emigration rate. So if it's a negative number, that means you have 1 person per 1,000 leaving the country. If it's a positive number, like Western Sahara is +9, that means you have 9 people per 1,000 entering the country at a net rate. Gives you the population predictions. Gives you infant mortality rate, total fertility rate 30 years ago and today, percentage of birth mothers aged 15 to 19, 30 years ago and today, percentage of birth mothers 35 or up, 30 years ago and today, family planning stats, some stats about different age groups of the population, life expectancy at birth, some stats about HIV/AIDS, percentage that lives in cities, the area of farmable land, and the GNI per capita PPP, which is basically the amount of purchasing power of an individual, how much money they can actually spend. So all of this data is going to be used by you to calculate doubling time, fertility rates here. If you go back to this handout, you will graph those for your 10 countries. Then there are some follow-up questions here that go alongside the data that you've taken. The project needs to be submitted as a typed document, double space. I want a hard copy. Make sure you include your data table, your scatter plot, answers to these questions. One of these questions asks you to make another scatter plot. Make sure you staple that to the handout. You don't want to miss that. Write in complete sentences. The point values are all here. The other thing that you want to keep in mind is you're going to have to use either Excel or Google Sheets to make one of the graphs. And it's also very useful to use Excel to help you do math. Let's get a data sheet, and I'll give you a quick tutorial about how to use Excel. Let's say I've got in column A here, I've got some data values, 10, 20, 30, 40. Column B here, I've got some data values, 40, 30, 20, 10. I'm just making these up just to show you what you can do with this stuff. So with Excel, you can actually use Excel to do math for you using formulas. And you can do simple formulas like just adding stuff together, and you can do complex stuff like calculating doubling time. The way this works is you click on the cell and you click the equal sign. That's going to indicate to Excel that I'm about to start typing a formula, okay? And then you type in the equation that you want. So for me, let's say I want to add these two cells together, row A and row B. I just type in sum, and there's a function that pops up, sum. I click on that, and then I need to click the first number I want to sum. I put a comma, and I click the second number I want to sum, and then I close the parentheses, and I press enter, and it does the math for me. 10 plus 40 is 50. That's easy, right? Here's the beauty of this. If I click on this little green square right here, see that in the bottom right corner of the cell? Click on that, I drag it down, it's going to automatically apply that formula to the whole row. If I go in and change this data, let's say I change 30 to 1,000, it's going to automatically update the formulas. So this makes a really powerful tool for doing something like calculating something like doubling time, right? There are other formulas you can use like average to take the average of two values like this. Click and drag, boom. You can also do multiplication, division, all sorts of stuff. So it's a really powerful tool. You're definitely going to want to use that in working on your project. Feel free to ask me questions. One thing to keep in mind, if you select this data and you copy it and you paste it, whoa, what happened? I had all these numbers and now it just says 0, 0, 0. That's because this formula is pulling from these two cells. If I copy and paste it here, I'm copying and pasting the formula. So now this formula is pulling from these two cells, right? And if I copy and paste these numbers and I put them down here, okay, still zeros because now it's pulling from these two cells. So, excuse me. When you copy and paste these values, it's really, really important that you pay attention to that. And when you click paste, there'll be a little clipboard in the bottom right-hand corner, paste options. Click on that and click values only. That will get rid of the formula and just have the raw numbers in there so you don't lose any data. Okay, I'm going to stop there because I'm already talking too much, but if you have questions, let me know.